All right, welcome and thank you for joining us this morning for our May webinar covering the college and career knowledge assessments. For those of you that have just joined us, please say hi to the group in the chat and add your name and role. We're always curious who's joining us. A little bit of background information. Texas OnCourse developed the college and career knowledge assessments to help educators and leaders reliably measure whether students gain the knowledge needed to make informed post-secondary decisions in schools. In this webinar, our staff will share how the student assessments can be used to measure student progress and how the educator assessment can guide your learning within the academy. So a few things for this morning's session. All of our webinars are recorded. So for those of you that are returning folks, you already know about that. This recording will be sent out to all of our registrants. So if you know a colleague that was not able to make it this morning, that registered, no worries, they'll receive the recording as well. And of course, you can always share our webinars and resources with your teammates. We also have all of our upcoming and previous webinars posted on our webpage. And you can also find the previous recordings on our YouTube channel as well. So whenever you have some free time or a moment, feel free to browse some of those previous topics as well. We will be providing you with several links to our resources and assessments today. Those will also be provided in a follow-up email for you as well. So don't feel like you have to look at them all in real time. My name is Andrea Panter, and I'm the Senior Network Coordinator with Texas OnCourse. I've been at the agency about 1.5 years now. I started my education career a little over 15 years ago as a special education teacher with Teach for America in Houston, Texas. From there, I worked at a nonprofit here in Austin, Austin Partners in Education as a curriculum specialist and math program manager. And I now have the privilege of collaborating with Matt Gianni with UT's research department and Jamie Bell here at Texas OnCourse. And then we also have Lauren Disher on the line, our professional learning coordinator at Texas OnCourse, behind the scenes, dropping all those links I mentioned.
Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Gianni. I'm a research associate professor in the Department of Sociology and the interim director of the Texas Behavioral Science and Policy Institute at UT Austin. And in a former life, I was part of the Texas OnCourse team. I was the director of research for Texas OnCourse for a number of years and helped develop the college and career knowledge assessments, which we'll discuss today.
Jamie Bell. I am a program coordinator here at Texas OnCourse. I specifically work with the middle school content that we develop and create for you guys. And I've been doing that since about 2018. So it's nice to be on to share some of those resources today.
Thank you, guys. And so I know we have a few folks on the line who are new to us. So I want to just take a minute to introduce Texas OnCourse. Our mission with Texas OnCourse, all Texas students, no matter where they come from or where they're headed, have a plan for success after high school. So that being said, all of the materials that we produce and all of the trainings that Texas OnCourse hosts, we always begin with this end in mind, that the work we are doing is to help our students have a valuable plan after high school. We are a state-funded initiative designed to improve college and career advising and readiness across the state. We were created at the request of the Texas legislator that works in partnership with the governor's tri-agency workforce initiative. So through this initiative, the commissioner of the Texas Education Agency, TEA, the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, and the Texas Workforce Commission work together to help Texas grow in economic prosperity and connect education and industry in Texas. So the users of our tools include middle and high school counselors, teachers, administrators, as well as community-based organizations that focus on post-secondary success. And we also provide a lot of different resources for our students and their families. So our agenda for this morning, I've already had the pleasure of welcoming you all, and Matt Gianni will provide you with an overview of the college and career knowledge assessments and their implementation. And then we'll have a brief pause for some Q&A with Matt. And then Jamie Bell will share with you the CCKA resources within the Texas OnCourse Academy. We'll also have some time at the end of this webinar for additional questions. So again, as we're going through our session, please, if you have any questions, add them to the Q&A box so we can answer them throughout as well as at the end. We are going to be doing a couple different polls. We're going to start with this first one here. How would you describe your level of experience with the college and career knowledge assessments? So let me pull that up really quick. You all should be able to see that. And would you consider yourself a beginner? This is the first time you're being introduced to these assessments and excited to learn how you can support you and your students, or maybe you've heard about them, possibly implemented a few pre or post assessments, or maybe you feel like you're an expert and you've been implementing these assessments from day one and are here for some of the updates. So I'd love to hear all your feedback. All right, great. We've had a great response so far, so I'm going to go ahead and share those results. Can you all see those? I'm curious how it looks on your end.
Yes, we can see them.
Oh, great, thank you. All right, so it looks like we've got quite a few beginners and average and a few experts. So now I'm going to kick it over to Matt, and he's going to go over the overview and implementation.
Great. Thank you all so much for the opportunity to chat with you today. So I thought I'd start with the why, which is a bit of background of the kind of impetus of the development of the college and career knowledge assessments in the first place. So I've presented a logic model for advising. That's kind of a simplified overview. But generally, this is how we might think about the rationale for college and career advising, right? We have counselors and advisors. We provide them, as well as other educators who provide college and career advising to students. We provide them with high quality professional development tools, resources, and other supports to support their advising. That leads to more effective advising that they provide to students, which in turn hopefully leads to college and career outcomes aligned with students' aspirations and post-secondary plans. But there's a couple challenges with trying to assess whether all of this is working as intended. The first, the little arrow at the bottom that you see, is we have the question of, do counselors and advisors have the knowledge and skills they need to provide effective advising? And is the professional development and training working, right? Is it leading to greater growth in the knowledge and skills related to advising that we would hope? And similarly, although that we hope leads to more effective advising to students, the kind of mediator there is the development of students' knowledge of college and career topics. But before we developed these assessments, we really didn't have a way to reliably measure either of these things, right? We didn't have a way to measure educators' college and career knowledge, nor did we have a way to measure students' college and career knowledge. Obviously, there's lots of academic assessments for math and English language arts and other subjects, but there weren't assessments that we found that were designed to measure college and career knowledge. So that led to the development of the college and career knowledge assessments. And there are two. There is one for educators and one for students. And we're going to cover both of those today. So we'll start with the educator assessment. So the first question is, what is the college and career knowledge assessment for educators? Its purpose is to assess educators' understanding of key college and career advising topics that will enable them to support students in college and career planning. It's a 10 to 15 minute assessment in Qualtrics that is 25 multiple choice questions in 3 competency areas of financial aid, post-secondary planning, and career planning. The item bank is actually much larger than that, so it's not like every person gets the exact same 25 questions, but for each person who takes the assessment, they get 25 questions in these 3 different domains. So who can take the college and career knowledge assessment for educators? We would say a broad diversity of folks, and really anyone who's providing college and career advising to students. So on the next slide is just a list of the types of, oh, actually, sorry. Yeah, we can do this and then we'll switch. So this is the list, or this is a couple of the sample questions for the college and career knowledge assessment. And I think Andrea has some polls to see how folks would respond. Is that correct, Andrea?
Yes, I'm going to launch
Great.
those polls really quick.
So these are just a couple of the sample questions that would be on the college and career knowledge assessment for educators. So I'm curious how y'all would respond to these.
Yeah, for whatever reason, it's not letting me launch it. I can see it on my screen. So we can just, if you want to just drop in the chat, so which is a feature of every internship. And you can see these are multiple choice on both of these questions. And these would show up on the CCKA for educators.
See, y'all are already experts. Look at y'all.
Yeah. All right, and we will move forward into our next slide.
Great. So who can take this assessment? Basically, the question is who provides college and career advising to students, right? So of course, counselors, both middle school and high school counselors, all sorts of teachers, administrators, coordinators, special program advisors, special education staff, and so forth. Really what we'd say is that it depends on school and district strategy. Based on the school and district strategy, who should be providing college and career advising to students, right? If CTE teachers do the bulk of the advising or much of it, then it's important to ensure that they have the knowledge and skills they need to provide effective advising to students. So really it's any educators that are providing college and career advising can take the assessment and we can use those results. So this is just to show a bit of what we've learned thus far of what things predict the amount of college and career knowledge that educators have. And the sample here is specifically counselors. So we controlled for a lot of other things about counselors' demographic backgrounds, the types of schools that they worked in, and so forth. And then we looked at the relationship between two things, their years of experience and the number of modules they had completed in the Texas OnCourse Academy. And we looked at the relationship between those things and their college and career knowledge as measured by this assessment. And there's a couple interesting things that I'll highlight. First, on the left, you see that the more experience folks gain, the more college and career knowledge they have. And all of these groups are being compared to counselors with 0 to 2 years of experience. So the biggest jump is really in that first group. Once you get to 3 to 5 years of experience, your knowledge of these topics has increased a lot. Similarly, we also see this positive relationship between the number of modules that folks have completed in the academy and their college and career knowledge. And what's interesting is that for folks who completed all 30 modules, back when there were 30 modules, I think the number has changed a bit, but the amount of growth in their college and career knowledge was essentially equivalent to 11 to 30 years of professional experience working as a counselor. So this was good, promising evidence for us that the training and professional development that we had created in the Texas OnCourse Academy was leading to reliable increases in the college and career knowledge that educators had. So the next slide just has a few links for the assessment. Ideally, the kind of ideal model of implementation is to administer a pre-assessment sometime in the summer or fall. The ideal time is probably before educators are coming back to campus, doing professional development and so forth. So folks who are designing the professional development experiences for educators can focus on the topics that would be most beneficial for folks to gain knowledge on. And then around this time of year, the end of the spring or the summer is when the post-assessment is ideally administered. And by administering both the pre and the post-assessment, then you can look at growth or change in educators' college and career knowledge over the course of the year. So finally, how can these results be used? Any educator who takes the assessment receives a personalized score report that breaks down their performance and their knowledge on different domains, and also points to modules in the academy that are aligned with those topics. So for educators, it's a way to kind of guide their professional learning. Folks like lead counselors can ensure that the counselors and advisors in their campus have the requisite knowledge and skills to provide effective advising to students. And school and district leaders and others can use the results to assess and inform professional development efforts. Of course, these are just a few ways that the assessment results can be used, but we hope that they really guide professional learning both for individuals and for schools and districts across the state. So that's a high-level overview of the educator assessment. I'll now turn to the student assessment, and then after this, I'll have a few minutes for any questions questions that come up. So the College and Career Knowledge Assessment for students, similarly, we'll start with what's the purpose. The purpose of the assessment is to assess students' understanding of key topics related to planning for high school, college, and career. And we also measure other factors that relate to students' college and career outcomes, which I'll mention in just a moment. And the assessment's about 20 to 25 minutes. So what does the assessment measure? What we did was identify a number of domains or characteristics that are important to students' future college and career outcomes. The first is their educational aspirations or expectations. We basically ask students, how far in school do you hope to get? And how far in school do you expect to get? Students often answer differently, which is interesting and is often referred to the aspiration expectation gap, that students have higher aspirations than what they expect to attain, which is important to be mindful of and to identify barriers that may be preventing students from realizing their educational expectations. We have questions in this domain called college and career decision-making self-efficacy. These questions ask students how confident they are in taking different steps related to planning for college and career. So for example, how confident are you in finding someone in a job that you're interested in, or figuring out how much a specific occupation pays, or in securing financial aid, or in applying for college, and so forth. So the questions ask students how confident they are in taking these different steps. We also ask students questions related to growth mindset. Obviously, there's lots of literature and lots of discussion of growth mindset in the education field. These questions basically ask students about the malleability of their knowledge and skills, whether they feel that their skills can improve over time. And that's been found to be important for a variety of educational and life outcomes. And we also added a new domain in 2020-21 about civic engagement, because much of the curriculum and the instruction provided to students about college and career planning should, in my view, be about how do you use your career to advance society and to make a difference in the world, right? So we had some questions about basically how engaged students feel in their communities, in addressing different problems that their communities are facing, in order to examine the relationship between the career aspirations and that civic engagement. But what's probably the thing that many of you are interested in is this college and career knowledge, which we also refer to as transition knowledge, which is really the multiple choice questions that have right and wrong answers that assess students' knowledge of college and career topics. And that's the kind of primary focus of the assessment and where the scores on the assessment come from. So who should take this assessment? Once again, this really depends on school and district strategy. There's a lot of different approaches that schools can take. One approach that's very common is to administer the assessment to students in college and career courses. In middle school, these are courses like investigating careers or college and career readiness. There's similar courses at the high school level that are very focused on college and career preparation. So it makes sense to administer an assessment like this in that context to ensure students are gaining the knowledge and skills they need about college and career. Some schools administer the assessment to all 8th graders. Of course, students are transitioning into high school, creating a personal graduation plan, figuring out the courses that they want to take, and how all of that is aligned to their future aspirations. So as a way to ensure that 8th graders are prepared for that transition to high school, the assessment can be used to ensure that students have that knowledge and skill, and to have high schools understand the level of knowledge and skills that their entering 9th graders have, right? Other schools have administered it to all middle school students because, of course, college and career instruction doesn't start in 8th grade necessarily, or it doesn't have to. It can start younger than that. And finally, although Texas OnCourse's original charge was about creating instructional resources for middle school students to help plan for college and career, of course, this college and career knowledge is very important for high school students as well. And what we hope to see is that students are gaining more college and career knowledge each year as they progress through high school, to the point that by the time they're about to graduate from high school and make that actual transition into college or career, they have the level of knowledge and skill they need to make informed decisions. So really, any of those different student populations can take the assessment. So what topics are covered, and this is specifically in the kind of transitions knowledge domain. So we started first by reviewing the standards that the knowledge and skill standards that students needed to acquire in relation to college and career readiness. So there were 2 at the middle school level, investigating careers and college and career readiness. And then House Bill 18, which created the Texas OnCourse project, also listed a number of topics where middle schools had to provide instruction to students in 7th and 8th grade. Once again, really to ensure that they're prepared for the transition to high school. So through our review of those standards, we identified a number of topics that we are going to assess with the CCKA. And this is a list of those: personal graduation plans, endorsements, the distinguished level of achievement, ways to earn college credit in high school, CTE and programs of study, and so forth, right? So many of the topics that we would think of as being related to college and career preparation are assessed through the college and career knowledge assessment. So next, I think we have another sample question.
Yes, and I will launch this poll.
Nice. The first one, I should say, is actually one of the growth mindset questions. So it's not one of the like correct or not questions that are on the college and career knowledge assessment, but it's an example of one of the other survey questions that's included. And the second one is one of the items that's actually on the college and career knowledge assessment, or the type of item that's on that assessment.
Awesome. Thank you guys all for participating. It looks like a lot of you are getting the right answer before entering high school for the second one. Of course, there's no right or wrong answer for the first one. All right, we will keep moving forward. Thank you, Matt.
Sure. So because there's always questions about what are the expected levels of performance for an assessment like this, right? And I should be clear, this isn't the type of assessment like a final exam where you expect all students to get hopefully an A, or at least pass the assessment with a 70 or above. It's not that type of assessment necessarily. So what we did is review the standards and review expectations of student performance, and then create these different performance levels that provide more kind of descriptive information about how can we think of students in these different score thresholds or in these different kind of bins of student performance. So in the first category, we would consider students to have an emerging understanding of college and career. So they have some knowledge of these topics that they can apply to general components of the college and career knowledge assessment construct. In the demonstrating level, students have moderate knowledge that they can apply to specific components of this construct. And then if students score 65% or above, we would consider them to be excelling in their college and career knowledge, where they have really comprehensive knowledge of these topics that they can apply to all components of this construct. So what does that look like? The next slide provides an example of, oh, no, it doesn't. Just kidding, it's not there. But just to provide a kind of concrete example of that, let's take a topic like career and technical education, right? And career clusters and programs of study. In the first category, students might just know that there are career clusters and possibly be able to name the different career clusters, right? In the next level, they might know about the different programs of study that are within those career clusters and how they relate to each other, right? And how different kind of occupations are associated within a career cluster. And in the final level, students might understand more about the educational requirements of those different occupations, or things like industry certifications that are associated with those different occupations. So it gets more and more detailed depending on students' level of knowledge. So these are the links to the assessment, and the first one is actually the implementation survey. So if you plan to administer the college and career knowledge assessments, we ask that you first complete this implementation survey, which just provides us with some information about like what kind of course do you teach, how do you plan to administer the assessment, what types of curricular materials are you using in your college and career instruction, and so forth. And then we have the pre-assessment link and the post-assessment link, similar to the educator assessment. Of course, because it's the end of the semester, we're now administering the post-assessment. So this is an opportunity to see how much college and career knowledge your students have at the end of the academic year, which can hopefully inform planning for the next academic year and for the next cohort of students that you'll have. So after administering the assessment, partners receive a score report. This is an example of a kind of snapshot report that breaks down student performance. As you can see, it provides a bit of description and context about how do you understand these different scores. And here we have a district that administered both the pre-assessment and the post-assessment, and you can see the amount of growth that students experience from the pre-assessment to the post-assessment. So for example, overall, or on average, students moved from the emerging level to the demonstrating level, right? So they moved to a kind of different performance level by the end of the year. And that's also broken down by the different subdomains of high school knowledge, college knowledge, and career knowledge, as there's different questions related to each of those subdomains. So if you administer the assessments, you get a score report like this that summarizes student performance. And finally, because this was a very brief overview, and I'm sure you have many other questions, we've also created an implementation guide that goes through many additional details, the scores, the performance levels, how you can make sense of them, what's being measured in the assessment, and so forth. So if you have any other questions about the assessments, first of all, you're welcome to ask me now. And secondly, you can check out that implementation guide, which provides much more detail. So I will pause there and we'll see if we have any questions, I believe.
Yes, Matt, thank you. We do have one from Deanna. I work with adult education. Is this something that will be useful for adult students seeking to return to school or start school for the first time?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And I'm very happy to hear that you are working with adult learners. I think it's absolutely critical. And just as oftentimes adult learners need some on-ramping academically when they're coming back to school, and maybe have not taken algebra in a while and have forgotten certain details about what they want to study. I think similarly, it's really important to ensure that folks have the knowledge of college and career, the topics that are measured on this assessment, things like financial aid, the difference between different types of post-secondary programs, right? What's the difference between a technical institute, a community college, a university, and the types of programs that are available and how they align. So I believe many of the topics that are assessed on this assessment are extremely important to ensure that adult learners have as well. So that's an excellent question. Thanks for asking.
Then we also had one from Cortina Collins. Is there an educator dashboard for educators to see each student's scores?
That is an excellent question, and that is in development. I can't say, or at least that is the plan to secure a vendor to essentially transform the kind of underlying technology for the assessment, and then to create things like educator dashboards that would make it much simpler for educators to view their scores. So until then, we do have the score reports, and you can request the student scores on the assessments. So that can be provided to you, both the score report that I showed a moment ago and the scores, but we don't have an educator dashboard yet. But the hope is that in the near future, that type of dashboard would become available.
Thank you. And then Nanette asked, when we receive the results for the CCKA for educators, is there something that lets us know where in the Texas OnCourse site the educator could develop the knowledge for the questions answered incorrectly? And the answer is yes, but I'll let Matt elaborate.
Well, the answer is yes. Yeah, basically, I guess just for a little elaboration, you do get a score report. So when you take the assessment, you enter your email address. When you complete the assessment, you get an emailed score report. So it gives you kind of subscores. And then it says, for more information on these topics, check out these modules in the Academy. And that's all in one email that gets sent to you. So that's the way that you can connect the scores on the assessment to the modules that are available in the Academy.
All right, Matt, and I know you need to hop off, so if there's no additional questions for Matt, we're going to hop into our resource spotlight today. And of course, we can answer any additional questions towards the end of this as well.
Thank you all.
Yes, thank you, Matt, so much for joining us. I don't see any additional questions right now, so I will keep you posted. All right, so we will hop over to our resource spotlight with Jamie, who's going to go over some of our different resources.
Thank you, Matt, for all of that information and knowledge. That was great. So I'm going to review some of the Texas OnCourse resources you can use to support your students and their college and career knowledge between the pre and post assessment. So to start off, we'll review some high school resources. We initially started the CCKA for middle schoolers, but this can work really well for high schoolers as well. So the next slide. So a high school resource that we offer are the college and career support student modules. For those on this webinar new to this resource, Texas OnCourse partnered with TEA and College Forward to transition their online resources into student-facing modules. This course is divided into 5 learning modules, best suited for high school students. These modules focus on the benefits of education after high school, learning how to prepare for life after high school. There's a college readiness checklist, what to expect the first semester after high school, the college application process, plus self-exploration to help guide in that post-secondary decision-making, plus so much more. Next. Yeah. College readiness is an important topic in these student modules, emphasizing for students how they can get ready for their post-secondary life and what they need to focus on, who they can talk to, and what steps to take. Next. So if you're wondering how you can access these modules for your high school students, it's free for all Texas educators to upload the common cartridge to their learning management system. To get to this landing page, you'll search college and career support. I know Lauren has given us the link here from College Bridge through our website. Simply click on the pink button to get further instructions for downloading this e-learning course. For educators who do not have access to an LMS, there is a web version of this resource using H5P that is more simplified, but has many of the functionalities as the Canvas version of this course. And you'll access the web version the same way by clicking the pink button for download options. Once you're there for this web-based version, there's a link for each module to share with your students. Next, we have our middle school resources. So if you're testing your middle school students' college and career knowledge, we have some great resources for them as well. As a reminder, Texas OnCourse offers a free comprehensive college and career readiness curriculum with lesson plans, assessments, student handouts, and so much more. It includes 6 units covering college and career readiness, soft skills, high school graduation planning, career exploration, post-secondary options, social networking skills, understanding finances, and preparing for a job search. This is an excellent resource that can help your students learning between the CCKA pre-assessment and the post-assessment. Also, many of these lessons could be adapted for high schoolers as well. So just to highlight what content areas align with the CCKA and what we have to offer, creating a high school grad plan or graduation plan. We have lessons around Map My Grad, which has a grad planner where students are guided through creating their graduation plan. We also have a lesson all about the foundation high school graduation plan. Students will take notes and think through the requirements that they're going to need. Distinguished level of achievement is an important distinction for students to understand. We have a lesson where students will deep dive into how to set themselves apart and work towards this achievement. All of our lessons are supported by college readiness standards, TEKS, and other state readiness standards. And those are written in the lesson plans. Career and education alignment, whether your students want to work towards a doctorate or get their licensure for construction site management, our college and career readiness curriculum allows time for students to explore their future interests and what educational options they will have available to them, helping students understand the connection between the courses they take and the future careers that those can unlock. To find these updates, you can download the curriculum from the link that Lauren has posted. I'm also very excited to announce that soon there will be an updated middle school curriculum. We've streamlined the content while keeping the lesson plan format and assessments that you'll love. We've also been hard at work creating a new college and career readiness middle school student module. A web version of the curriculum, lessons, and activities that students can complete outside of in-class instruction, making your content more accessible to students and their families.
All right, thank you, Jamie. So as we're starting to wrap up today's session, as I mentioned, you can find our previously recorded webinars on our webpage, and you can also find them on our YouTube channel. If you have not already, please feel free to subscribe. You'll also find a lot more of our updated information here as well. And just want to let you guys know, please mark your calendars. Our next monthly webinar will be held June 13th. They are always the second Tuesday of the month at 10 a.m. So a little sneak peek into June's webinar. During this session, we'll be sharing information pertaining to My Texas Future. A little bit of background. My Texas Future is a brand new resource developed by the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, designed to promote Texans from all backgrounds to obtain a credential of value in the labor force. This comprehensive portal enables students and adults to explore career interests, identify in-demand occupations in their region, and directly connect with institutions of higher education to achieve their goals. And so our staff will guide this webinar attendees through all of the My Texas Future features to support your advising efforts. So mark your calendars for that. And if you do have any additional questions, I'll look in the chat and in the Q&A. And as I'm doing that, of course, we would love to hear your feedback from today's session. So if you don't mind just taking a brief moment to answer just a few questions in our survey. We really do value your feedback and are continuously working on improving our webinar series. This continuously provides you with the most up-to-date relevant information. So if you don't mind just taking a couple moments to do that, it's only about 4 questions. And let me see what we got in the Q&A. From Annette, can someone here provide an update on Generation TX going away? Previously, there was a TEC code that required counselors to promote GenTex Week. What will that look like now? Jamie, do you know the answer to that? If not, I can look into it.
We can definitely reach out and get back to that person to get that answer.
All right, awesome. I will make sure that we get to you on that. And Candace said, how do I get the updated middle school? Are you talking about the updated middle school curriculum? I'm assuming.
So the updated middle school curriculum is not released yet. We're still working on it, but it is coming soon. So what that's going to look like is the download link that y'all were given today. We're just going to put the changes behind that download link. So when it is updated, it'll be announced, it'll be on the website, and that download link, the link that you have right now, will work the same.
So well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, but we will stay on the line for a few more minutes to answer any additional questions that you all have.
I've asked some colleagues about that GenTex question, so I'm going to see if they answer all